Hello, everybody. This is all sorts of time. For those of you who hadn't seen the show before, what did you think? I know. For those of you also who have not seen the show before, tomorrow, starting at noon, on BBC America, Season 1 marathon culminating in the Orphan Black season finale at 9. All your friends are going to be talking about it. You know you want to watch it. That is one reason I'm super excited to be here tonight. I'm Jarett Wieselman from ET Online, and the woman I'm about to bring up is the incredibly talented, the multifaceted, the multifaceted Tatiana Maslany.
Thank you. Hey, guys.
So first things first, you're not British.
No, Canadian.
So...
Woohoo! Who's Canadian here? Anybody? Yeah, amazing.
You
All right.
guys travel in groups, I've learned.
Yeah, we do.
So growing up in Canada, how did you first get into acting?
I was a dancer when I was a kid, like 4 years old. So performing was always part of my life. I always wanted to be like on stage. I always wanted to be kind of the center of attention. So, you know, when I started out, that's kind of, I think, why I gravitated towards acting. I started when I was about 9 doing community theater and musicals and kind of fell ass backwards into film and television. I don't know. Yeah, it just sort of happened. I was really fortunate to kind of get into it when they needed like little kids who could kind of talk and say lines. You know what I mean? And we're like reasonably, easy to manage. And it was only about 7 years ago that I moved to Toronto and I really kind of started to study the craft and understand what it meant to me and the sort of resonance that it has in the world and why it's important.
When you did start to study, what kind of methods did you learn about?
I did all kinds. I've done Meisner. I've done lots of like very technical scene study. I've done. I'm working with a teacher now who it's all about relaxation. It's all about animal work. It's all about personal revelation, human sort of just humanity, kind of bringing out our worst and most disgusting, ugly bits, or the things that we think are so ugly about us, but that really reveal our kind of universal humanity. So that sounds super wanky, but it's awesome. It's amazing. I love it. And I've trained in dance, and I've trained in voice work. I've done Alexander technique. I've done loads of different things. So.
And you have a background also in improvisation, right?
Yes. Yeah. I did improv for about 10 years professionally in a long form improv company, which is like we do hour-and-a-half long kind of one acts instead of like joke prov. So it's but we did have to do that, unfortunately. We did like bar shows sometimes, which are the worst. And you're wearing like a headset and you have to like sell your soul. But the long form was really amazing and like so good for creating characters. And I think that's where my love of characters really started to grow.
If only you could find a role that required multiple characters.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm still looking.
Well, let's talk about that. Honestly, I'm not just saying this because you're sitting next to me and I have a microphone in my hand, but Orphan Black
I am sitting next to you.
But you are. But it still remains true that Orphan Black is one of the most exciting shows I feel like on the air right now. It's so brave and bold and risk-taking. And when you got the pilot script for the audition, what went through your mind when you saw what would be required of you for this character?
I kind of ignorantly was just like, I want this. Like, I didn't think about the fact that, like, how do you do that? Or, like, what does that look like? Or is it possible? Or is it going to be really cheesy? Or is it going to be, like, just a gimmick and not kind of... But the thing was the writing was so strong. And the characters were so... Wow, I just did that thing that doctors do. The characters were so just well-developed and like complex and not just kind of like, and this is this archetype and then this archetype. It was like these, I would love to have watched a show about each and every one of the women that I've so fortunately been able to play in Orphan Black. And yeah, it was the writing and it was all of that that drew me to it. And of course, the like crazy challenge and kind of like, I don't know how it's possible to approach, doing it, but I was just hungry for it. I just wanted it.
What was the audition for this show like?
It was, I did like 3 kind of auditions for one of the creators, John Fawcett, and for the casting director, and it was just like me doing, I think, Sarah and Beth, a Beth scene, or Sarah as Beth scene, and then I think it was only in the like screen test that we brought out. I'm gonna spoil some stuff here. If you guys haven't seen it, Allison and Kasima, and so that was like a very surreal experience. Yeah.
For those of you who haven't seen it, currently where we are on the show, which is 1 episode before the finale, she's playing 6 different characters, maybe 7. We got a little taste at the end of, we don't know. There was someone with, anytime you see a woman on Orphan Black from behind, you're like, there's Tatiana again. Until she turns around, you don't actually know that it's a different actress who is in fact playing her. But I mean, in general, when you audition, is that a process you enjoy?
Sometimes, yeah. There's sometimes, I'm sure everybody can relate to that. It's like sometimes you're so hungry and you just want to play in front of people and you don't care that the room feels scary or whatever. And then other times it's like walking in front of like a shooting range. Like it's like the scariest feeling and you just feel like you're gonna die. Like that's your body. I feel like your body actually goes into fight or flight sometimes. I had it before I came out here, like this kind of like,
she punched
shaking. Yeah, I did. I was like, I'm out of here. But yeah, like it's always scary. And I think auditioning gets easier as you do it, but then there's another level that gets scary. Mm-hmm. There's something else you're learning about or that you're afraid to do or that you have to do and you don't know if you can, at every stage in because I feel like acting's just a growing thing. It's just a living, breathing organism. I mean, you're always drawing from new experiences in your life and you're always growing as a person, so you have to grow as an artist,
Absolutely. For the room, are there any tricks or tips that you feel like you've learned about auditioning over the years, or is it honestly just step in front of the firing squad and see what happens?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different in every room you walk into. Some rooms feel so warm and some rooms feel like you're literally doing like a test in school and it's like, am I gonna get this right kind of thing. The biggest learning experience for me was working on Orphan and doing auditions with other characters. So actually being a reader, and I don't know if any of you guys have ever done readering, but it's like the greatest experience because it just demystifies the process of being in those rooms. And you really see how when somebody walks into the room, right away, their energy says it. The room changes, the lighting changes in the room because of who just walked in. And you kind of know, like you just get a sense before they've even said a thing, if they're, the one thing, and I know I'm like totally guilty of doing this, walking in with a lot of drama, like bringing in like, oh, I don't know if I know my line, sorry, I'm so late, like, you know what I mean? And that, like, apologizing before you've even done anything, and it's like, for me at least, I know it's like a defense because I'm scared and I just want them to like me, right? So you apologize for your existence. But I think, like for me, going in and just going like, I don't know what this is gonna be, and I'm open with my nervousness, but I'm not gonna apologize for that. And I'm gonna go in with my fear, and I'm gonna go in with my excitement and my cockiness or my confidence or whatever, and just going in and being as honest as you can be with yourself in that room, then you're gonna do whatever. You're gonna do something. I don't know.
But it'll be organic and honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go to the place where you've been organic and honest in front of the Orphan Black producers. They love you. They cast you. What was the first thing you did when you actually set out to start breaking characters?
Well, I'd done a lot of work for the auditions. And doing them in front of people gave me a good sense of what was sort of feeling organic or feeling right. Then I did a lot of movement work. I did a lot of kind of backstory work that, because the show is so much about identity and about, how we're raised or where we come from or what country we've lived in or if if we knew our parents or what our parents were like, so much of your identity is based on the nature nurture thing, right? So I kind of went like, what are the stark differences between all these women? Where did they grow up? How much money did they have? How do they see the world? You know, Cosima, one of the characters, is like a PhD student and hippy dippy, kind of like she like lives in a world where everything's fascinating to her. The world is exciting. It's tactile. It's right in front of her. She wants to touch everything. She wants to understand everything. She wants to be inside of people. You know what I mean? That sounds disgusting, but she wants it, you know? And then like Sarah's completely opposite. She grew up never knowing her family and has consequently very little trust for the world around her. And so her defenses are, she's guarded and she's hiding a great deal of vulnerability because she's never been able to show that. It's just not been reinforced, you know? She's been alone. She doesn't belong. So she sees the world very differently than Cosima. And so I think so much of that indicates how you walk in that world. You know, so because Sarah's got a tension in her, a kind of boyishness almost, because, you know, she'll turn on her sexuality when she needs to manipulate somebody or use it or whatever. Whereas Cosima's like, she's in the world. She's like an organic thing inside of the world. And then Allison, there's like the soccer mom. Yeah. Some Allison fans? Awesome. She's like a bit of a slow burn. Some people hated her. But I love her. She's uptight. I think she is terrified that her world's gonna fall apart. And so her rigidity is in her body. I think she was a ballet dancer. I think all of her habits come from ballet. And I think she still holds her butt this tight and her stomach in, you know, just because she's proper and she doesn't have any ill thoughts and she doesn't have any sexual feelings, and you know what I mean? She doesn't want you to know any of that. So that's a big long answer to a question maybe that was not.
No, it's exactly what I was looking for, because it leads me to my next question, which is, in creating all of these characters, I mean, like we said, 6, maybe 7. If we walked into your apartment or wherever you're living while you're filming, does it look like a writer's room in the sense that there's whiteboards everywhere and character breakdowns? Like, do you need that for your process?
Yeah, I think initially, especially when I had time, it was a lot of writing. It was a lot of like kind of brain work and research and books. I had loads of books that I read for all the characters and films that I watched. But then after that, it became just keeping it in my body and making it less so about an intellectual thing, because I just had to kind of trust all that was there, even though I didn't. I just had to work on trusting it, and dialect work as well, just trust that it was there and that whatever came out was the character's voice, and I didn't have to be perfect. It didn't have to be every vowel sound exactly right, because, you know, that's that's something to aspire to, but I just had to let go of that kind of thing. But for me, my room, my space looks like a disaster because it's just scripts everywhere, like, you know, sucks. I couldn't clean up, really. I didn't have a lot of time to tidy my apartment, so that's what it looks like.
If only there was a second Tatiana.
Yeah.
When you were actually filming the show, what is important to you in terms of getting into a character? A lot of artists use music. Some that, like I know you do, use dance.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about sort of what you do to become Cosima or Allison in terms of your physicality and brain space.
Yeah, so I carry tension in different places for each character depending on who they are. And then I'll walk as that character all day while I'm playing that character. Speaking the dialect the whole time. I dance between takes to just kind of keep a looseness in whatever rigidity there is or whatever tightness there might be. Like with Allison, it's doing ballet steps, you know, between takes. And for Cosima, it's like this ravey kind of glow stick dance. Yeah, and just really commit to the physicality of it. It's so much fun. Yeah. It's so much fun. And like I said, they're all so well written that they just kind of, they inspire me in such a clear way. And I use playlists, like I use music, that it's really important to me.
for those of you who haven't seen past episode 1, I apologize for the next question, but what is the playlist and the dance like for Helena? Just because I'm curious. I just want to know what kind of like crazy ass music you're listening to.
Helena is, I love Helena. She's like Tom Waits, obviously. That's like goes without saying. Tom Waits. Anthony and the Johnsons, who's like this incredible musician, very haunting, very emotional, very like yearny, and feels like he can't quite attain the thing that he wants. And I feel like that's Helena. She loves so deeply, but she doesn't know how to love. She's never been taught how to love. She's been taught how to kill. She's been taught how to push people's eyes in, or like, you know, she hasn't been taught social graces. She doesn't know any of the way the world is supposed to work. And she's never, and I think for her, love is a lot of abuse, which also Anthony and the Johnsons' music kind of has that in it. So that's what I listen to. I also listen to some Prodigy for her too, just to get that kind of like raw, visceral animal thing. And her dance is like very sexual.
Cue the music. No, I'm just kidding. There was a great audience question. There was a lot of great audience questions, but one in particular here that applies, and this is a really interesting idea. Logistically, how does production work? If you have, let's say you have a scene with more than one alternate in it. Do you shoot that entire scene jumping between characters, or do you do all of that one character stuff for that episode in a day and sort of give different days to different people?
No, it's like 3 characters a day sometimes. So if we have like a 3-clone scene, say I've been doing the whole day as Allison, we'll start as Allison, then in that 3-clone scene, and then I'll go change and I'll become Sarah. And then I'll go change again and then become Cosima and maybe finish off the day as Cosima. But it's like very much blocked like for money and time's sake, because it would be impossible. Right. It's like an hour and a half change for each character, if not more than that. And you know, and then the technical aspect of the clone scenes is ridiculous. Like it's just very precise and very time consuming, and so there's just no time. Yeah.
It makes me think that, you know, your best friend on set would have to be whatever stand-ins you have for those given roles. Yeah. Talk about sort of the process of trusting someone that much who's basically playing you.
I was so lucky. I got, and John Fawcett and Graham Manson, the creators of the show, they were really, they made it really important to find an actor for me to play off of, because, you know, stand-ins can do their stand-in work, but they're not always actors, right? And stunts aren't actors, and you know what I mean? So I got an actor, which was amazing. And not only did I get an actor, I'm going to cry thinking about her, she's so amazing, because she doesn't get seen. She never gets seen. She memorizes all the lines. She memorizes my blocking, her blocking, my mannerisms, my impulses. She somehow memorizes all that and then gives it back to me with a performance that I can play off of. So she's not in every clone scene, because, you know, if there's like a 3-person shot, it's just me doing it myself with like eye lines and an earpiece, an earbud. But when it's like an over the shoulder, that's Catherine, and she's doing Cosima's little hand things, and she's got Allison's posture, and she's doing the accents with me. And there were times on set where I was so tired and I just didn't know how I was gonna get through the day, how I was gonna remember my lines, how I was gonna even just be there. And she would show up and give me everything. And it was like, I fell in love with her in episode 3, because we were doing this bar scene and she just woke me the bleep up. She just woke me up. She just was so there for me, and so giving of all of her energy and all of her work, and knew how tired I was, and just woke me up. And that's like the ultimate generosity as an actor. Incredibly generous.
She's not here, but let's give it up for Catherine.
Yeah, please.
I think so.
She's amazing, amazing.
It makes me wonder, though, is any one clone more exhausting on you as an actor than another?
Allison is exhausting sometimes, just because her physicality is so tight, and sometimes I just want to be like, you know what I mean? And her breathing is like up here as well, so it's harder for me to just kind of be tired and sink in. And Sarah's a lot easier to kind of be tired in. And also, we always happen to do Cosima long-winded scientific psychobabble at like 3 a.m. with like a computer screen, and I'm like not going, can't even remember my own name, let alone all these lines. But you just go through with it,
Does the order matter? Is it easier for you to play Helena last or Sarah first?
It depends on who's driving the scene.
Okay.
If Sarah's driving the scene, then I want to start as her, because likely Helena's in response to her. But Helena's usually driving the scene if she's in a scene. So I want to start as the one who is the instigator, who the other one is responding to, because it's weirder to do the response before I know what the give is. Yeah.
How much do you think your improv background played into your ability to create and react to all these different characters?
I think it helped insanely, because when you're doing an improv show, you're on stage with nothing. You don't have props, you don't have costumes, you don't have a set. You create everything, and you create it through your tasking, or you create it through your imagination, or just seeing it, right? So that, I think, definitely helped with me being able to just look across the room and pretend that I was talking to a human being when I was just talking to an ex or a ball, and then also just the creating of the characters, because I'd had so much experience creating a character on the spot and committing to a physicality and committing to a worldview in the moment. It was easier when I had all that already for me, and I could, just sort of draw on it.
Obviously, you did a miraculous job of maintaining your sanity during this process.
I don't know about that.
I think it would be very easy to sort of get lost in the clone of it all. Yeah. But when filming Wrapped, what was the experience like? Because I know a lot of actors have trouble sort of letting go of a character.
Yeah.
You had to let go of like 6, maybe 7 characters that you've been playing for, such an extended period of time. What was like the decompression process like for you when filming on season 1 Wrapped?
I don't think, my brain was going constantly throughout the process. I don't think it stopped. It was hard for me to sleep, because I just had so many kind of arcs and different people in my head. So I literally, for the first 3 months, and we only shot for 4 months, I would sleep like that. And I'd be switching characters in my sleep, and I could feel myself being like, I know I'm Cosima, and now I'm Sarah. And I think that eventually slowed down, because I just got so tired. But by the very end, when we left, I was so sad to leave the characters. I fell in love with all of them, and I just wanted to explore them more, and we didn't know if we were going to get a second season, and we somehow did halfway through showing our first season. Yeah, unbelievable. And I'm just so grateful that I get to go back and play some more.
Absolutely. Who is the character you're most excited to revisit come season 2?
Oh my God. I don't know. They're all going to have shifted, I hope, in a way, and at the same time that scares me to think that, oh God, I wonder, will they still be there in me? I think Allison's gonna have some fun stuff coming up. She's such a nutcase. The writers really love writing for her, so I'm excited what they kind of pull out.
But I think you and I had talked about this before, but what I feel like I would do nothing but obsess about is the fact that if the show continues on to continue to grow in popularity and have as many fans as it does and just, multiply, there could actually come a time where you're playing 57 characters.
I wouldn't put it past the creator, John. He's like, how can we make this an even cooler clone scene than the last director did? He always wants to one-up the last director. So there's some crazy shit that happens in episode 10 as far as clone scenes go. I don't know. I was like, it would be hilarious to do a Harlem Shake. I was like, that's a dated reference now, though, isn't it?
But you could bring it back with that.
I showed my age.
Yes, you're 3 months old.
Yeah, I am. But yeah, it would be fun to I don't know how many I don't know. That would be like a 43 out. That would be like a 43-week scene. That would take so much time.
There was an amazing question from Twitter. Do you get paid more money for playing so many characters?
No.
Why not? No, I'm just
I don't know. Let's take it up with them.
But you know,
oh, I keep doing this thing. Let's do that.
Perhaps there's a doctor in you for season 2. But this is something you and I were talking about before. The online experience, I think, I have been a fan of the show since day one. I know that a lot of my writer friends were also obsessed with the show and talking about the show. There's been this growth online, this sort of swell of support. How important do you feel having a social media presence is, given sort of how involved Twitter was with the word of mouth of the show?
It's unbelievable. I mean, like I said, I feel like we would have been canceled after 2 episodes if people hadn't just been like talking about it and like debating about it and like forcing it down their friends' throats and like, you know, like hashtagging Clone Club and like all this stuff. You know what I mean? It's just such a cool community. And what was the question about?
The importance of social media and you, because you've seen it.
Very important. Yeah, it's crazy. It's nuts. I mean, yeah, I don't even know what we would be without it. Because I feel like sci-fi fans too are just so vocal, and to have like a platform in which they can like talk to Felix, like Jordan tweets during the show, and he like tweets little like cool quips and stuff about Felix, you know, and that's like exciting stuff. Like I know as a fan of everything, when I get a little piece of that thing, it's exciting, and I feel like that's what Twitter facilitates.
Also, for the record, Jordan, who plays Felix, also not British.
So not British. He's got like a southern weird accent, even though he's from like northern Toronto, or no, like he's like got this. Yeah, he's amazing. He's incredible, incredible.
I love that. So this may sound a little strange, but actually a couple people, both in the room and online, asked me this. What is the key to having chemistry with yourself?
Getting enough sleep. God, I don't know. Just, you know what I learned a lot, and I think in the first episode, I was very, you know, I was like, I'm doing a clone scene. And it got less and less like that. The more I stopped staring at myself, or like being like, look, I'm actually watching myself. You know what I mean? I started breathing in it more and like looking away because that's what you do in real life. Or having personal moments, you know, just kind of pretending that it was another actor instead of a technical thing. I don't know. It was the big challenge for me, was staying present and staying spontaneous and alive while I was doing this really technical thing.
It must have been difficult to sort of maintain your actorliness and your process and, you know, whatever you wanted to do, given, as you've said, how tired you were, how time-consuming this was. I mean, looking back on the experience of the first season, do you feel like you've learned anything through it that you wish you could tell yourself at the outset?
Yeah, like just it's all gonna be okay, and like breathe. I think that's honestly the biggest thing I can say, like advice for anybody, is like breathe, because I was so excited I had the part, and I just wanted to do it justice, and I just went, like, I was like, the accent's not right, this isn't right, da, 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 da. Like, I was just freaking myself out, and the more tired I got, the less I could control my performance, the less I could control my thoughts, the less I could control my voice, the less, and honestly, I think that's where the better stuff comes out, because then you're like an open vessel instead of something that's trying to create a certain product. And I love working in a spontaneous, kind of open, free way. And I felt like the tiredness actually facilitated that more. Just because I wasn't muscling anything. Or I mean, I'm muscling, obviously I'm muscling, but like less muscling, less trying to get it right, or less trying to prove that I could do this. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. The hair and the makeup on the show is also incredible. I mean, Casima's dreadlocks and Helena's whatever that is.
Shakira wig.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. Never gonna watch The Voice the same now. But
That's what I wish it looked like. I wish it was like Shakira's wig.
how helpful or important to your process has it been to have physical market differences while playing these women?
Yeah, that was like everything. The brilliant hair and makeup team are artists, are complete artists, and I could not have done it without them, and I couldn't do it in the future without them, because the kind of stuff they brought to the table, like the dreads, or like Casima's tattoos, or her nose ring, or Allison's bangs, like just these things that were like instant keys and changed my like how I looked at myself. And you know, so much of, we can't help but be affected by how people see us and how we see ourselves physically, aesthetically. You know what I mean? We're so aesthetically driven in our culture. And it's so much too about the psychology of the aesthetic informing or negating what's actually going on inside. That was really exciting to me. Yeah. You know, because Allison's hair is all like, there's not a thing out of place. But really inside, she's like, I'm totally screwed. I don't know I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think I'm a real person, all of this stuff. But on the exterior, we see this really put together person. And I just like that conflict.
Absolutely. We're going to take, I'm going to read this audience question. Do you feel like any of the characters are like you, or which is most like you?
Yeah, I think they're all like me. I think they're all a part of me. Like a little seed that I've kind of grown and elaborated and explored. Whether it's habits I have, or whether it's physicality that I have, or the way I stand or something, or the kind of, like Sarah, I understand her kind of visceral maternal instinct because I have two younger brothers who I would murder everybody for, you know what I mean? I would kill for them, and I feel like Sarah has that same kind of mama lion thing in her. Cosima, I think, is probably the closest to me, physically, like sort of stuff-wise, like mannerism-wise, and also her kind of fascination with, I keep eating my microphone, with the world and with the people around her, and the way she's passionate about science is probably the way that I'm passionate about acting. But like Allison and Helena too are large parts of me, you know, that I wouldn't necessarily want to admit, but it's true, you know, and that, I think that's the greatest gift as an actor, is you get to like go, well, I'm doing this as the character, but really this is me, you know, and this is me in my worst bits of me.
Well, lastly, Tatiana, let me ask you this. In the sense of, you know, loving your craft and really getting an amazing showcase for your ability. I mean, I feel like the Critics' Choice nomination is the first of many that'll be coming your way in the seasons ahead. What would you say to fellow actors as someone who has been there and has, you know, struggled and been on the auditions that we've talked about, who now has sort of found a home for that gift? I mean, what has this experience taught you about the craft of acting?
It's taught me a lot about different aspects of the industry even. You know, just sort of you never know. You just have no clue what's coming up. You have no clue what's going to be perfect for you. You have no clue what you're perfect for. Like, you just have to keep going at it. I mean, I've been doing it since I was 9. That's like 18 years. Which is a long time to, you know, be kind of bumping my head against a wall before. And I've done things that have gotten acclaim, and they're really great, and everybody's like wants to talk to me, and then they're gone, and somebody else comes up. You know what I mean? And that stuff is so fleeting, and you can't hang your hat on it. You can't rely on that to be the thing that makes you feel worthy, or the thing that inspires you to work. Because that stuff is so fleeting and so has nothing to do with you, actually. You know, it's about it girl or hot now or whatever. Just keep training and keep doing the work and keep loving the work and hate the work, because you will hate the work. And, you know, fall in love with acting by watching other people who you are inspired by. You know, Jenna Rollins was like a big inspiration for me. And Cassavetes films are like a huge inspiration for me. And anytime I'm like, I hate this and this is too hard and I don't know what I'm doing, go back to I go back to that for inspiration. But as far as Orphan Black teaching me about acting, it was just, I don't know, it's just gratitude, like, honestly, gratitude. I'm so lucky that I got that part. I'm so, so lucky. I don't know what I did, but I don't know. God, yeah, I don't know what to say, really. I just keep going at it, keep training. That's the thing, you know, and also live, like, have a life outside of it, because I think we can get so tunnel vision sometimes, and I think that's what, when I was working on this show, I was so tunnel vision on getting it right or whatever, and it was only until I was so exhausted that I let go control and had a life outside of it, and you know what I mean, and filled myself up in other ways that the work actually benefited from it. That was a weird answer.
That was a tremendous answer and an excellent one to leave on. Thank you all so much for coming out. Thank you to
Thanks, guys.
Tatiana.
Thank you.
Thank you to the SAG Foundation.